Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I do want to talk about a topic that did actually happen yesterday, but it is of such great importance that I did want to talk about it today, and that is the Texas lawsuit brought about by the Texas Attorney General to effectively overturn the results in 4 states that Joe Biden won: Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The Supreme Court has decided not to even hear this case. It was a 7-2 vote. The only 2 people dissenting were Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, and they didn't, say that the case had any merit. They effectively just said that, we want to hear the case because it's based on our principle that we want to hear these state versus state cases, but the case has no merit and we're going to throw it out, we're going to throw the case out. So it was effectively a 9-0 decision against Trump. And, a lot of Republicans had been supporting this case. You had Trump who had signed on to it. You had 106 Republicans who had signed amicus brief onto this case. You had, 20-something states, Republican-led states that had signed on to the lawsuit. You had a lot of states going against the lawsuit. But now the Supreme Court has said that they are not going to hear this case. It says the Supreme Court on Friday rejected a lawsuit by Texas that had asked the court to throw out the election results in 4 battleground states that President Trump lost in November, ending any prospect that a brazen attempt to use the courts would reverse his defeat at the polls would succeed. So basically, this lawsuit was completely frivolous. Pretty much everybody knows that, except for, the most diehard Trump supporters, which are actually a pretty, strong minority base of the country. But the thing is that they were never really going to be successful. We knew that as soon as the race was called for Joe Biden, he was going to be the next president. And I basically said on November 4th, look, Joe Biden's in a very strong position to be president. He's going to win the key battleground states that he needs, and he's going to be elected the next president. There was nothing that was really going to change that. None of these lawsuits were going to change that. You only had a couple lawsuits from the Trump campaign itself, but of those associated with Trump campaign, it was, like 1 in 52 or something like that. And the only case that they won was allowing their poll watchers to stand a little bit closer. So all of these frivolous lawsuits were never going to succeed, and it should be of no surprise to anybody that they did not succeed. It says the court, in a brief unsigned order, said Texas lacked standing to pursue the case, saying it, quote, had not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections. And this was kind of, the crux of the case. Texas was basically saying that these other states should invalidate the results when, it's literally laid out in the Constitution that the way elections are run is up to the states. And Texas was basically saying, well, governors like Tom Wolf made these actions, things like the mail-in voting, expanding mail-in voting through executive order, and he subverted the legislature, and therefore the results should be thrown out. But if you look at Texas, Governor Greg Abbott did the exact same thing. If you look at what he did, he used an executive order to try and limit the number of drop boxes per county to 1 per county, which of course is absolutely ridiculous because some counties have about 100 people, such as Loving County, and some counties have as much as 4 million people, like Harris County, Texas. So that was completely frivolous, and he made those same efforts to do things through executive order and not go through the legislature. But then the Texas lawsuit goes against other states, those 4 particular states. Basically, we know it's because Biden won those states. If you look at what Montana said, for example, Governor Steve Bullock came out against the lawsuit, and he said, Montana did the same exact thing. He used executive order to expand mail-in voting, do all these things with the elections. But the reason that it is not being challenged is because Trump won the state. And we knew that's what's going to happen, and we knew that the case was going to be thrown out, and it was thrown out. There was some hope from people on the right, from Trump supporters, saying that, this is the case that we're going to get. This is the case that the Supreme Court's going to take up, but it just was never really going to happen. And even if you dislike people like Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, they do have values, and they're not just going to be completely partisan and rule on these things because they're partisan. And that is very important to note. And, Trump says, I think this will end up in the Supreme Court. Trump said of the election a few days after Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death in September. And I think it's very important that we have 9 justices. So this was all, he set the stage for all of this happening before the election. His attacks on mail-in voting, him saying that it was going to go up to the Supreme Court, this was all planned before the election. We knew that he was going to claim this election was rigged if he lost, and claim that it was a perfect election if he won, just like in 2016, except in 2016 he also claimed that the election was rigged rigged, even though he won. He said that he actually won the popular vote. But, this was completely ridiculous. It does say Mr. Trump's campaign did not immediately issue a statement. In an appearance on the conservative network Newsmax soon after the decision was announced, Rudolph W. Giuliani, Mr. Trump's personal lawyer, said that the campaign's legal effort would continue, insisting that his team had originally planned for, quote, 4 or 5 separate cases. So there was some news saying that they're going to do even more cases, but that's just completely ridiculous at this point. The safe harbor deadline was on December 8th. The Electoral College meets. The people meet in their individual states on December 14th, which is just 2 days from now. And then the official meeting of the electors in Washington, and where they count the votes, where it's both houses of Congress meeting, all of that, that's on January 6th. It does say Mr. Trump weighed in later on Twitter, quote, the Supreme Court really let us down. He said, quote, no wisdom, no courage. So he's basically attacking the Supreme Court justices for ruling against him. So not much was surprising about this, but it is a very important news thing that is, of note, and, people are responding to it. People on the Republican Party on the right are responding to it. We had a Million and MAGA March, it's called, that was also occurring in Washington, D.C. today. There was one of these last month. There is one today. There's obviously much less people today because I think even some of those people have realized that this election is over. But it says thousands descended on Washington, D.C. Saturday for the second, quote, Million MAGA March in support of President Trump since he lost the presidential election. Metro Police confirmed Saturday afternoon that there were some arrests, but said that the rally had largely been peaceful. The president has yet to concede the election despite being certified in all 50 states and numerous failed legal objections, most recently in the conservative majority Supreme Court. Supporters gathered in protest of the corruption and dishonesty what is taking place in our country, according to the march's website, and, quote, as we have done throughout our great history, we will stand together as united citizens in the face of evil, censorship, suppression, and manipulation. We will defend freedom against the forces of fascism, socialism, and communism that are working to tear this country apart, reads its mission statement. Now is a new birth of freedom, and we will not be stopped. So they're basically saying a bunch of random things. Joe Biden's going to turn this country into a socialist hellhole. That's obviously not going to happen. Joe Biden's not a socialist, and he's going to be the president probably with a Republican Senate. So I don't even know how they suspect that anything like that would happen at all. But it is just fear mongering. They're saying that they're going to hope that Trump somehow still wins this election. Some people are even calling for martial law to be invoked, which is just completely ridiculous at this point. Some people are just absolutely losing their minds. When there's a protest going on today. It is actually going on right now as I do speak here, but it's not going to come about of anything. And you have some things that could be very bad for the Republican Party. This one thing that's on Twitter is Nick Fuentes, a prominent, quote, America First person, talking about what's going to happen with the GOP. He's, saying we're going to destroy the GOP, and people are chanting we're going to destroy the GOP, destroy the GOP, destroy the GOP, destroy the GOP. So this is a problem. It could be a problem for Republicans because the Trump supporters do make up a pretty large base of the Republican Party. And if these people are saying that they're just not going to vote Republican anymore, they're going to work to destroy the GOP, that is not going to work well for them. In the immediate term, you have the Georgia runoffs that are coming up. How many people will be boycotting this? I was very skeptical at first of people actually boycotting this runoff, but now that people seem very upset, maybe that could actually come true, and I doubt it. I'm still very skeptical of it, and even though the polls show Warnock and Ossoff winning in many cases, and even though you had a lot of these movements, a lot of these people saying that they're going to boycott the runoffs, it is still hard to believe that these things are actually going to hurt the Republican Party, but it is something that the Republican Party should be worried of nonetheless. But to note how ridiculous this lawsuit actually was, basically what happens is if they were to throw out the results in those 4 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, effectively saying that they'd send no electors, Biden would still win the election, because what happens is if those electors are not present for the vote, it is not out of 538 electoral votes. If the electors from these states are not present, it is whoever gets a majority of the electors that are there. So Biden would still have a majority nonetheless. Sure, if it went to the House of Representatives, Trump would win, but that's if nobody receives a majority of the electoral votes. And even if you invalidate the results of those 4 states, Joe Biden would still win the election. And what they would have to do is send Trump's electors, but each and every state has laws on the books, state laws on the books that are more binding than these Supreme Court decisions saying that they can do whatever they want to the electors, because it's up to the states to decide what they want to do with the electors. And all of the states have laws on the books saying that they send the electors to the person who won the popular vote in their state. They can't just change the law after the election just to send Trump's electors. So this was always a long shot. It was never going to happen. But now we just have even more confirmation for what we already knew. Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. Everybody should accept that by now. Everybody should concede that this still is a free and fair election, and Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.